In the recent 2.7 patch, there's been a change to next hit delay, opening up some builds to become even more powerful. I recently went over an endgame high faster cast rate build that clears areas with incredible ease, but for those without endgame gear but still want to be able to test this build out, I wanted to be able to showcase how it would work as a budget build that you lose all the expensive gear but none of the fun. In today's video, I'm going to go over the build for the budget Wind Druid, one that has common found leftover budget items that you used on all your other caster characters, but is still equally as fun as it is viable. I'm going to go over the attributes, the skill tree, the gear for my character and my mercenary, and afterwards I'm going to show you guys some gameplay so you could see this build in action. But do keep in mind that when it comes to this build, there are different ways you can be able to gear the character depending on your needs, whether you're trying to go for maximum DPS, you're trying to do a magic find character, or a hybrid of the two. Just keep in mind when it comes to looking at the gear choices that I'm going to be choosing, that you can choose alternative gear depending on the demand that you have for your build. Before we actually get into the build, the comment shout out for this video is going to be Jay Stratch. I apologize if I mispronounced your name, who appreciates the videos, especially with having the timestamps available to be able to not waste the viewer's time. Your time is valuable, and if you choose to check my content out, I want to make sure that you're getting exactly what you're looking for, especially the ease of access with using timestamps to skip around to the parts that interest you most. Now let's go ahead and get into the video. For the attributes, there's enough strength to be able to equip the gear, and the remaining points go into vitality. For the skill trees, nothing will be invested into the shapeshifting skill tree. Then for the elemental skill tree, Cyclone Armor, Twister, Tornado, and Hurricane are all maxed out, as Hurricane will be actively used for damage and crowd control, Tornado will be used to deal the main damage starting at melee range, and to top it off, all four of the max skills synergize one another. Lastly, for the summoning skill tree, this is where the remaining points can be used within to round out the build. Oak Sage is maxed out to increase our health pool, then 1 point all the way down to Summon Grizzly, and the remaining points I put into Direwolf to be able to boost the Grizzly's life. Because of how budget this build is, it'd be ideal to have all of your summons assist you as additional crowd control, but also to have something between you and whoever you're fighting to allow for better survivability. Now for the gear, when it comes to the concept of a budget build, keep in mind that the items being shown are based on if they are, or sometimes aren't, optimal for the build, despite the item's rarity. There's a reason that so many set and unique items, and even some being treasure class 87 items, never see the light of day aside from Grayling, while some magic and rare items are more optimal and ideal for a build, and sometimes even become mandatory. And on items with a variety of stats that can roll, remember that this is all based on RNG or random number generation, or even better, just dumb luck for certain items to drop, as well as how they can roll. For the gear, keep in mind that the biggest benefits to use when it comes to items are ones with plus to skills and resistances. And you can add some FCR as well, but plus to skills is the main factor when looking at the gear. The helm is Jalal's main for the plus to Druid skills, faster hit recovery, strength, energy, and all resistance. If your resistances are low, socketing this with either an Ort rune, Thol rune, Ral rune, or a Tal rune would be helpful to boost up a specific elemental resistance. Or if you come across an rune, to be able to use that to boost all resistances would be very helpful. The amulet is a caster amulet. I crafted a handful to be able to make this build, and this is the first elemental one I got, so I decided to stick with it. If you want to learn more about crafting caster amulets, check out my video on the topic down in the description below. But even just using a plain to elemental skills amulet would work for this build. The body armor is a skin of the Viper Magi for plus to skills, faster cast rate, and all resistance, and I socketed it with an rune for even more of a boost to all resistance as they were quite low before, despite that they are still low even with using this. However, now they're thankfully no longer in the negative. The weapon and shield are spirits for the plus to skills, faster cast rate, faster hit recovery, vitality, mana, and resistances on the shield. The boots are faster run walk boots with a bit of strength, dexterity, and some magic find. The first ring is a rare FCR ring with strength, mana, and lightning resistance. The belt is Trang's belt for life, mana, and cannot be frozen. The second ring is a rare ring for the fire and lightning resistance. You can gamble rings like this, depending on what your character level is, if you have good RNG on your side. Check out my guide for gambling rings for more on that. Or if you get really lucky, you can get a ring like this to drop while you're randomly farming. The gloves are Mage Fist for the faster cast rate and regenerate mana. On switch is a teleport charge staff to be able to get around easier, such as going through the last of the River Flame before getting into the Chaos Sanctuary, as running around would be a lot more time consuming. The inventory has my cube, both tomes, 2 plain elemental skillers, a Geeds for the magic find, and the small charms are magic find small charms. I left the rest of the inventory empty to be able to make this build truly budgeted and to show that not a lot is needed to be able to make this build work while still being very fun to play. The main point of the gear with this build was to have it set up with what could be the leftover gear from your other caster characters as you farm and get better gear for them. To take what you'd usually otherwise get rid of and put on this build to be able to still make it work and be fun to play. Not every piece is ideal, and getting exact breakpoints aren't really focused on with this build, but rather making something out of leftover items for people to test out the build to see if it would be something that they would enjoy. Speaking of breakpoints, for the additional stats, there's 16% life leech if you end up actually attacking with the weapon, 71% magic find that can easily be increased with more magic find focused gear, 36% faster run walk, 104% faster hit recovery, 130% faster cast rate on the main hands, but will switch down to 60% when you're using your teleport charge staff on switch, but is at least higher on the main hands to be able to cast Hurricane and Tornado to deal damage faster. For the Mercenary, he's going to be helping out with both crowd control and reducing the enemy's physical resistances to allow our damage to go even further. He has a Talos Mask for the helm, Treachery for the body armor, and dual Lawbringers for the Decrepify proc to have go off even more frequently, greatly helping this build to do more damage overall. Now that we've discussed the attributes, the skill trees, the gear for my character and my Mercenary, let's go ahead and check out this build in action to see how well it actually plays out. With the gameplay, for anyone who'd be curious as to which player settings I'm using for my build guides, the past, presently on screen, and in the future, down in the bottom left corner is what the example gameplay being shown is currently at. This build is great for those wanting something safe, but still have fun at the same time. It is budget, so its clear speed isn't incredibly fast, but with using your summons and keeping your Hurricane active, this build will suffer very few issues when it comes to running around and clearing areas all over the game. The Sanctuary Aura is amazing for Chaos Sanctuary, as you'll be taking away undead enemies' physical resistance, and then the demons have their own physical resistance lowered because of Decrepify. So regardless of which enemy you face, you'll make killing them that much easier. But with something to consider, you may end up getting Decrepified quite a bit yourself. So you may have to use your teleport charges a bit more than you expected to be able to keep moving around easier until it wears off. The teleport charges are quite expensive to be able to recharge back onto your staff, but if you have the gold to be able to do so, using the charges are great for repositioning the Mercenary. As with him proccing Decrepify, it'll make killing mobs of enemies that much easier.
Death can save you from me.
When telestomping, meaning teleporting into a mob for the Mercenary to get a quick hit to be able to proc Decrepify, be careful not to telestomp into the wrong mob. It can create some close calls, even if your Oak Sage is still alive. As the Oak Sage does help with boosting your health, but it also tends to die a lot, making the build a bit of a glass cannon for certain circumstances. This build is a bit slow to move around. You can buff with the Hustle weapon for the burst of speed proc, but for better survivability, using Treachery's Fade would be helpful to be able to increase your resistances and physical damage reduction. Both are quite cheap to be able to get the runes needed to be able to make them with maybe an hour or so of Countess farming, and they could help make your experience with the character more fun and much safer, if desired. For all of the gear being Frankenstein together in a way, and still being a viable build overall, this budget Wind Druid is a great build to test the waters for this class. However, if you want more out of this build, check out the endgame version, one that hits the 163% FCR breakpoint and destroys everything in its path with ease. Link down in the description below. And that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and were able to see if this build would be something that you would be interested in going into the future, and if anything, at least just enjoyed the video. If you like this kind of content, want to see more, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification to be notified whenever a new video comes out.
Come on. Come on. Come on, then. There you are. There you are.
And if you like this video, please let me know by leaving a like. It really is appreciated to be able to help my channel to grow. And if you want to see more of my Diablo 2 Resurrected content, make sure to click the card in the corner up above to check out my Diablo 2 Resurrected playlist with a lot of videos already in it, with a lot more coming in the very near future. Other than that, I hope you guys are staying safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.